Good morning. This will be a brainstorming session or mainstorming session. So in this session, we'll be discussing important current affairs topics linked with mains from the month of June and July. Okay. So I repeat, this will be a brainstorming session so that we'll be discussing the question in mains point of view. That too we'll be brainstorming. So you have to write the answers and submit before me like within a week. Okay, within a week. That too in the booklet that we have given. So you may please note down the important points and all those important aspects that we are discussing. So I expect this session to be an interactive session. I need full cooperation and participation. Is that fine? Okay. So let us start the session. So I have mentioned it as brainstorming. We'll see. See the first question. See, I'll tell you the context first. See, the parliamentary system and presidential system was often in the news in the month of June and July because of the presidential election of Draupadi Murmu. So it was in the news, and the significance of parliamentary system, the presidential system, and why it is important, all these aspects were in various articles, and the relevance of parliamentary system was always been in a debate, not only this time, in the previous years also. So this seems to be an important topic for mains. Even if you are not writing this year or you are aspiring for the next year also, this seems to be a relevant topic. And see, one thing I have to mention here is, current affairs as such, it is not a subject. Okay, what we have to do is, you have to link the current affairs in such a manner that there will be only static question. You have to make these points from current affairs as fodder points, or like you can code these current affairs aspect in the respective questions, so that the question will be generally what? The question seems to be static, but you have to mention the important current aspects, current events that were there in the newspaper. So this is how you have to approach the paper. Okay, all the papers, whether it is GS2, GS3. See, I have included topics from GS2 and GS3 most precisely because current affairs is almost comprises of GS2 and GS3. And I have taken general questions so that those who are appearing this year and those who are appearing like or attempting next year will be also benefited. So these are general questions, but these questions were in news. So that is why I have chosen these questions. Okay, fine. See, I'll be sharing this PDF. You don't have to write the questions. Okay, you can number it. You can just number it and note the important key points. See, noting it's up to you. You just brainstorm it. We'll have a brainstorming session so that it will be helpful for you as well as me. Okay, so we'll start. See, first question. See, do you think that the present parliamentary system meet the aspirations of the people? If not, what are its issues? Also suggest reforms. See, these can be asked for a 10 marker or a 15 marker. When you write it for a 10 marker. But as we are discussing, we'll be discussing for a 15 marker. Okay. So, do you think that the present parliamentary system meet the aspirations of the people? See, this is a polity question from GS2. So, whenever you get a polity question, what you should focus is, you can mention articles, you can mention Supreme Court judgments, you can mention committee reports. All these things you should mention. So, parliamentary system, do you think meet the aspirations of the people? If not, what are its issues? Do you think that? You may be having two stands, okay? You may be thinking like that or you may not be thinking like that. But whatever it is, you have to take a stand here and you have to set what are its issues. See, you take a stand that it is not up to mark or like it is not meeting the aspirations of the people because the question itself asks about what are its issues. So it's better to go with the flow of the question and also suggest reforms. See, first of all, what is parliamentary system? Parliamentary system. In which article it is mentioned? Article 79. Article 79, it is mentioned that India is having a parliamentary form of government. And we borrowed the concept of it from the Government of India Act. Okay, for your basic understanding, I am telling. And what are the features of parliamentary system? Draw a spoke diagram and show the features. What are the features? Presence of nominal and real executive, leadership of the Prime Minister, collective responsibility. All those things you can mention. Okay, dissolution of lower house. It is there in the standard books. Lakshmikant and all, it is there. You don't have to write it down. And see, you can mention 2-3 merits of the system also. It represents diversity. Like it's apt for a like populous country like India. All those aspects you can mention. And the crux here is, what are its issues, right? What are its issues is the crux of this question. See, what are its issues? This is a system by and large satisfy the aspirations of the people. It is true. But however, it has got some issues. What are the issues? See, you have to address the key demand of the question and go by the flow. See, first it is mentioned that present parliamentary system. So you have to mention about parliamentary system, features, merits in a crisp manner, in a very precise manner. Next, what are the issues faced? So you have to say that yes, it has, don't write yes and no. You have to mention that it has it has tried to meet the aspirations of the people, or like it has met the aspirations of the people. However, it has got various issues. What are the issues of parliamentary form of government? Don't write the demerits, issues faced by parliamentary form of government. See, parliament is often considered as the temple of our democracy. India is a parliamentary form of government. What are the issues faced by parliament? Defection, anti-defection law is often misused. Then you think of the, see, you have to substantiate with facts, okay? Suggest reforms also, it has been asked. So issues, you have to mention facts, figures, etc. See, it is better that you mention facts, figures, etc. in every question. So tell me, what are the problems or issues of parliamentary form of government? Policy paralysis. Okay, then criminalization of politics. Then see, criminalization of politics, you have to mention the fact that almost 50 MPs, 50% of the MPs has charged with some or other forms of corruption or like criminal offences that you can quote. Criminalization of politics. Second is anti-defection law. Very good point. So the law prevents defection of legislatures on the floor, and you have to just mention one line and how it is being misused. And see, what we are following in parliamentary form of government is first past the post system. First past the post system. And what is the issue of the first past the post system? Majority. Those who are getting the majority is winning the election. But we are not taking consideration of the like opposition or like the minority representation. We are not considering. If it is a presidential system, it will be following or like it will be also taking consideration of the all the votes that is polled. But here it is not so. Only the majority votes are counted. So that is another issue. And see, lower representation of women. What is the representation of women in Lok Sabha? 14.4% only, 14.4% only. So low representation you can quote. And see, you have seen in news that lower disruptions, like lower scrutiny or higher disruptions that is happening in the parliament. See, why? Because due to this COVID pandemic, the parliament has not been met for the recent 2 years and all. And the issue is almost all the sessions are disrupted by these opposition MPs. So mostly disruptions or like lower scrutiny is happening. Next, you can say that frequent elections. Almost we have frequent elections. See, we have a plan for go to simultaneous election, but it is not practical in India. It has got merits as well as demerits. See, that is a probable question. You may please note it down. The simultaneous election, the prospects and challenges that can be asked as a question. So here you can mention about frequent elections. See, always in India, one or the other state will be facing election. That is the problem. So that is an issue with respect to this parliamentary form of government. And we have parliamentary privileges. And what is the issue of parliamentary privileges? See, Article 105 deals with parliamentary privileges. So it has got reasonable criticism that it is like what? It curbs the freedom of the legislators. So that is one issue. And see, nowadays, what is the role of the opposition? The role of opposition has also been weakened. Opposition role has been weakened. If the majority is if a party is getting a majority, see, for a democracy, it is always best to have alternate governments. If it is ruled by BJP now, the better performance of a democracy is next it should be ruled by the opposition party, so that the cross check of policies will be very much appreciated. But the issue is policy paralysis. There won't be continuity of policies. That point you can mention. And you can mention that the parliamentarians are not experts, right? So in lawmaking procedure or in content wise, they are not up to mark. At least low performance of parliamentarians you can mention. So these are the issues. See, I have mentioned so much issues. You have to prioritize the important issues and write it, and also suggest reforms. What are the reforms that can be suggested? See, issues simultaneously say the reforms. First is strengthen the anti-defection law. Second, say grave crimes. Those who have grave crimes that has done grave crimes, they should be debarred from elections. They should be debarred from elections. Then fast track courts should be established, so that what happens? Fast cases, the cases can be resolved fastly than pending in the courts and all, so that the MPs or MLAs can be charged and effectively scrutinized in a faster manner. And you can mention that the electoral bonds needs to be more transparent. and introduce reforms in parliamentary committees and all. All these points can be mentioned. See, it's up to you. Any more suggestions? You can mention more suggestions. All the issues that you have pointed out, you can simultaneously mention what? Suggestions. See, this is an easy question, but the major problem is you won't be writing the issues, you will be writing the demerits. In Lakshmikant, it is given pakka, that is merits, demerits, presidential system, parliamentary system. So you won't be writing the issues. Issues is different, demerits is different. So demerits, if you write here, you won't be getting marks. You have to write the issues. And suggest reforms, you have to suggest reforms. See, this can be a 15-mark question also. If it is for 10 marker, just write 2-3 points each, that's all. It is a 10-mark question. See, I have mentioned it like a 15-mark question so that it can be asked for 15 mark also. See, I'll be discussing all the question in a 15-mark format, but this question you have to, like I have given a lot of content now. So, you have to make sure that you arrange and prioritize the points so that you write it for a 10-marker question. So, you have to write it for a 10-marker question. The question seems to be simple, and parliamentary system is basic structure of the constitution. So, it cannot be altered. Okay. Parliamentary system is basic structure. So, we cannot shift it to a presidential system all of a sudden. What we have to do is, we have to suggest measures for parliamentary system and we have to come up with strengthening anti-defection law, all these aspects. Okay, we cannot, so don't write that we may shift to presidential system. See, parliamentary system is very apt for India because of diversity, population, minor representation, all these things you can write. But the thing is, make sure that don't write in suggest reforms that's like change to presidential system. It will be against the constitution itself. So make sure that you don't write like that. So this is how you have to approach the first question. See, addressing the question is more important than writing the content. So you have to address the question, mark the keywords and make sure that you have addressed it well. That is how you will get more marks. See, this question, your challenge is you have to write it for 10 marks. That's a challenge. Now you are having so much content, right? But write it for 10 marks. That is a challenge. Okay, see, I have given you a week. Daily write one question. That's it. Already we have brainstormed. Now daily write one question each. So next question. Fine, right? Any doubts? I think I have mentioned all the important points. Why it was in news? Due to the election of presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu, and parliamentary disruptions was always in the news. See, parliamentary disruptions as such question won't be asked. They generally ask what are the issues faced by this parliamentary form of government. See, that is a fodder that you have to take from the newspaper or like from the news. You won't be getting direct points. See, whenever you prepare notes, make sure that you link that notes to the static subject. Okay, if it is polity, link that particular topic. Okay, disruptions of parliament. How can it be asked? The problems of or the issues of parliamentary form of government, it can be linked. That is how you have to connect the topics. And don't study and mug up so many facts and figures related to disruption of parliament. I am pakka sure that disruption of parliament as a question, it won't be asked. Okay, the articles will be disruption of parliament or like presidential form of government. Is it the need of the hour? Like that the question will be asked. But the thing is, you have to make the important points from that and link it to the static subject. See, parliamentary form of government, presidential form of government is the static syllabus. You have to link to, in such a manner that you add more points to it. Fine, no doubts, right? Next. See, next question. Next question. See, the 52nd constitutional amendment has proved to be a double-edged sword. Comment. See, what is basically meant by comment? You are commenting something. You are commenting about a person or like a movie. But you have to comment with reasons. A normal comment won't be sufficient. You have to comment. It's not like a Facebook comment or an Insta comment. Your comment should be reasoned. With reasonable facts and figures, you have to make sure that you commented and it has sound backing of reason. That is how the term comment indicates. See, you don't have to focus much on the directive. Go with the flow of the question. Then it will be correct. The directors will be like aiding the flow. So don't go that much to the directors, but anyhow I have told you this. See, it is a double-edged sword, which means you have to write the two angles. Question itself says that it is a double-edged sword. See, what is 52nd the Constitutional Amendment Act? Anti-defection law. So this question asks about the inclusion of anti-defection law or like the 10th schedule of the Constitution is a double-edged sword. Comment. See, comment. So you have to write the positive outcomes of the anti-defection law and the issues surrounding anti-defection law. So in the intro itself, you can write that they have given it as 52nd constitutional amendment, right? So in the intro itself, you can write that the 52nd constitutional amendment added 10th schedule in the constitution in the year 1985 or something. You can write it like that, and provided for the disqualification of members of parliament and the state legislature on the ground of defection from one political party to another. Intro, crisp intro, precise intro. Then you can mention that despite positive outcomes, the implementation of 10th schedule has been mixed opinion is prevailing in the anti-defection law aspect. So what are the positive outcomes? See, first of all, it helped in reducing corruption. That is a fact. Figures are available. It helps in reducing corruption. It ensures stability of the democracy, anti-defection law, by preventing disruption of government. See, otherwise the government will be disrupted often, right? So, and it helped in maintaining the consensus among the MPs. That is another point. And it lessened the burden of unnecessary election. If anti-defection law was not there, these MPs will be almost like quitting the party, and there will be unnecessary elections throughout the year. So it avoided that, and it ensured that candidates elected with party support and on the basis of party manifestation remain loyal to the political party. See, what we are doing, we are electing the representatives on a backing that they represent a particular political party. So if they are getting into the MP or MLA post and they are saying that no, I don't belong to that political party, I am switching political party, does it make sense? No, because we have voted the candidate maybe based on what? The political background, or like looking at the political party. So it has got positive outcomes, but what are the issues around it? See, first of all, it is counter to Article 105 and 104, 194, which deals with parliamentary privileges. See, you just think, the individual MPs has got their own conscience, right? They have to vote upon their conscience also, because sometimes what the party is saying is maybe counter to what their personal opinion. So at that time, they can't vote like that because it may charge defection. There is a whip who take care of what the MPs or MLAs has voted according to the party norms and conditions. So if they are not voting to the party lines, they will be defected. So it acts as an against the individual freedom, or like individual conscience of the MPs is often neglected. And see, now what is happening? Defection is carried out in another way, like that of mergers, and mass defections is happening. And one thing is there is because the scene is if a candidate is resigned, then he can, if a winning candidate is resigned, they can call for by-elections, or like defected candidates, if he loses, he can participate in by-elections. If he win, he can just come back to the MP or MLA post. That is again misused. So there are loopholes in the anti-defection law that needs to be strengthened. That point you have to address. And see, the anti-defection law has sealed the size of the parliament, sealed the cabinet size, not the parliament, cabinet size, that is 10%. But now what is happening is, in Delhi and all, you might have read in the newspaper, the parliamentary secretaries are taking charge. They are not ministers, they are secretaries to the ministers. So see, in Delhi, there is only 70 seats, okay, 70 seats. So the number of ministers will be only 10. But what they are doing is, they are adding more members in the name of parliamentary secretaries. It is mentioned in anti-defection law. So what happens? The number of parliamentary secretaries are increasing, and it is an overburden to the budget, or like consolidated fund of India, like that you can quote. And see, as I mentioned earlier, there is no bar on the defected MLAs to contest by-elections. Example, that is what happened in Karnataka elections. In Maharashtra elections also, there were many issues regarding the anti-defection law. And see, the sweeping powers is given to whom? The presiding officer. He is the one who says that it is anti-defection or not. So it is said that the power should be given to the president or the governor in consultation with the ECI. It was suggested by various committees. Then the defection, see, speaker, here the speaker, like in UK and all, once he is a speaker, he is always a speaker. But in India, it's not the case. The speaker doesn't resign from the political party. So almost the speaker role is somewhat biased. It should be said that he should have independence and neutrality. But the thing is, the position is often biased. So anti-defection law, if he is implementing, it may be also having bias. So it is said that the president or the governor should implement anti-defection law in consultation with Election Commission of India. There is a committee recommendation based on that. And another important aspect you have to quote is, see, there are different norms for independent MPs and nominated MPs. You will study anti-defection law in detail. For independent MPs, if they join a political party, it is defection. But for nominated MPs, for example, Suresh Gopi was nominated, PT Usha was nominated by the government. But after joining as MP or MLA, they can what? They can switch the party. Like they can say that they have joined BJP or like any other party. So that is the issue with respect to it. Consider independent members and this nominated members separately. Two rules for the same post. Is it right? No. So that is an issue again with anti-defection law. And the law does not specify a time period for the presiding officer to decide on the defection. No time period is there. So again, it can be misused. And another important aspect is, see, once the point I was repeated, they can't express their independent views. They are always obliged to express the views of the respective political party. So it is always against their individual freedom. All these points you can comment. And what can be done? Actually, what can be done? What are the measures? What can be done? The Supreme Court has set up an independent tribunal to study these aspects and all. And various expert committees have recommended that the presiding officers, the decision to disqualify a member should be made by president, as I mentioned earlier, or governor. And see, the voluntary giving up of membership is too vague. So they have to come up with a proper definition. What is meant by voluntary giving up of this party membership? And see, as I mentioned earlier, there should be a parity in treatment of independent members and nominated members. See, what are the issues you have said? You have to address the solutions for that. Whenever you are mentioning issues, you have to come up with solutions. That is the crux. And time limit, as I mentioned earlier, there is no time limit. So that you can suggest what you have to, like, or the government has to come up with the time period in which the presiding officers has to say the defection. So that point you can comment. And ban on re-election of disqualified MPs can also be considered. So the need of the hour is not to remove the anti-defection law. It should be strengthened. Okay. You don't write again presidential system. We can opt for presidential system. See, all the system has got its own issues. See, we have been like doing this parliamentary system for almost 70 decades. So we cannot completely say that it is wrong or like it is up to mark. It has got its own positives. Positives is the like majority aspect. Okay, if we took a balance, positives only like overweighs. But the thing is, anti-defection law kind of issues or like criminalization of politics, major issues are there with the parliamentary form of government. So what can be done? Like, is it right to say anti-defection law should be repealed? No. It is always better to say that anti-defection law need to be strengthened and these measures can be taken for that. That should be a correct stand or like a best stand. So that is how you have to approach this question. See, the 10th schedule or like the 52nd constitutional amendment has proved to be a double-edged sword. See, the question itself says it is a double-edged sword. So you have to mention the positive aspects as well as the negative aspects. Go with the flow of the question. Fine, second question. Any doubts? Any doubts? See, 10th schedule you will be studying detailed in your polity subject. See, it was in news. You might have come across so many articles related to anti-defection. So it is very much important. See, what points I have mentioned, it might not be have been discussed in all the newspaper. They will just say opinion-based pages or like editorial pages, one-sided opinion will only be there. But you have to just Google it and find more points which is relevant to anti-defection. Or like what are the reforms that can be taken or like what are the issues facing it, you have to address it. Fine. Any issues? Is it feeling like difficulty in? No, right? See, you will study anti-defection in detail. What are the provisions of anti-defection? See, I hope that you have read the newspaper regularly and you have a basic understanding of anti-defection. This is my assumption and I am taking the class. Okay. If I start explaining anti-defection law, its historical background, when it was taken, all those things, it may take a lot of time. See, I am just telling how to address this question from the current affairs point of view. See, this is current affairs basically. You can mention about Maharashtra elections. That's all. That is the current affairs. Maharashtra election, it was always in the news. In the first page itself, it was in the news. But the crux here is 10th schedule issues. Or like they can ask in another form, like the anti-defection law is often misused. What are the measures that can be taken, or should it be repealed? All these kind of opinion based questions can also be asked. But what should be your stand? We have to strengthen the